It was just an aesthetic decision that I wanted to do that.
Were there times when you just shut the visuals off and just edit the sound by itself?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and there's some music that I used, and so there is a decision making in the editing stage that alters some of that directness that comes about in shooting the way I did.
But the sound's still located in the actual that time and space where you're shooting the stills, correct?
More or less,
more or less,
you
yeah.
know, I mean, that's a thought, you know, I mean, it's a question. Am I, you know, it's just like there are times when I see a film I did and it's 2 years later. But that's a different me 2 years later, and so I let it be. And in some way, if I'm, it might be that I am creating a project in a certain area, and I think that area, well, it's a forest, or, I mean, not that I shot anything there, it's totally forest, but if I shoot something somewhere, and I think that quality that's there is important, then I would like to record everything in that area, because I would contaminate the idea if I went and did recorded in other places and try to incorporate it. And just as I say that, I don't want to hold myself to it, you know. Maybe I would change my mind for something else.
91 LeGrand for me is very different. I had a very different response from when I previewed it at home on a screener, where it was like, it seemed small and I was easily distracted, and of course focused here, and it became much more moving to me here as like a portrait of domesticity in its own way, with, you know, just glimpses of the people in the space, but nonetheless a very rich feeling of this home and this time and this passage of time in a way that, you know, I didn't connect to when it was on TV at home. But and I was going to ask if that was your intent, but it almost, you know, doesn't really matter whether that was your intent.
Well, at this time, with the attitude I have about the small format, I love it when somebody sees my work in any size, you know, but what you're saying, I think that especially certain work looks better large than it does small. The film, such as it is, it's got 4 parts to it, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 2 companies, one in England and one in Sweden, that have purchased that, and they have purchased a lot of films that they sell to people who have the iPhones. Is it? Yeah, that they can just buy 2 minutes or something. I mean, there's a list. So if somebody's walking along and they got nothing else to do, and they get in touch with one of these companies, and there are others too, and they run through the list of films that are there, and they wonder, oh, maybe I'll buy this. Well, what they're buying is the viewing of that for however long that project is. Well, those screens are very small. It's very small for me. I mean, so yes, I like it when they go and buy a viewing of that, but there's a limit. You know, personally, that I like things a little bit bigger.
Do you like people to be more immersed in it in this manner versus the smaller screen? I mean, are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I tell you the truth, I hate it when people eat popcorn. You know, but you know, I was in Germany, in northern Germany. I did a tour of a number of cities there, and I was very surprised. Well, first of all, where I went, most of the places were, well, there was one theater, a nice theater, it was like this, but most of the places were small, like clubs that were into experimental film, and they had sofas and overstuffed chairs, and people were sitting in them, you know, and they would leave, and there was a bar out there, and they'd come back and they'd be drinking beer or something else, and it killed me. I just didn't like that, you know. And the guy that had invited me, he said, you should learn, you know, this is the way it's going to be for a while, and he may be right.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, we adhere to a different presentational philosophy here, but definitely in places where like people go out and drink and so forth are far more populated.
Yeah.
Audiences.
I mean, I don't want to stay with this attitude that I've learned from the past, that I can embrace that a little bit more. Yeah.
But such as it is, I don't comprehend even how it could work in such a way. I mean, let's get away from this, the size of the screen. But the light, the shifts in the light of such as it is, particularly in the first segment, I think are so magnificent, but so subtle and delicate in their changing. In the way that you distilled or turned abstract the lights of the subway, I believe.
Thank you.
I don't see how people comprehend the film on a small screen, but away from that, I don't know if I have, please, if you will comment on the question. I mean, was that that segment for me differs from the ones that follow in that film. But your concerns with capturing these very slight changes of light and then rendering reality in a more abstract way was for me very interesting in that film, and it's different from, say, what you did in the two films that you made this year.
Well, a quality that I really like is darkness and mystery. You know, I mean, not being able to perceive exactly what you're watching. And so with that, such as it is, and you see the little lines or the movement and it gets to be color, I make conscious decision about, well, how long can one watch this before they will lose interest? At what point must I introduce yet another color or a different sound so it maintains a certain level of interest? And that film, and also The Awakening, which is the one where the walking is going on, in the very beginning of that, you just see the little lights going on. It's the use of the darkness and trying to draw people into what's going on, to make them interested and curious. It's the darkness, and the use of darkness is something that I find always very, very interesting. The latest film, well, I'm working in an area, I don't know where it's going to go. The area is that I like, as I said, with this small camera, I like recording what's going on that is just caught, life going on. But that's not all that I want, you know, so what do I create from that is the sequences of people eating or talking, looking at a bicycle that's a fish shape. I like recording that kind of thing, but I also like the abstractness of creating shapes that you're not sure about. Now, how do I integrate that? I don't know. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm trying to do here, is with that. And I don't know where that's going to go.
Monica?
I was just curious, one of the things had the sound created by Meredith Monk. What kind of relationship do you have with her? Is she a collaborator of yours? Or?
With who, Meredith Monk?
Uh-huh.
No, I don't have any relationship with her. I know her, but I don't. No, I don't. I just want to give credit because I used, and when I give credit, much of the time, as with her, I would take, I think, she was in Burlington, Vermont, and I recorded a concert she did, the performance she did, and I recorded some of that.